I'm Autumn Brown, a queer science fiction writer, a theologian, and a soon-to-be on sabbatical mother of dragons, living on Dakota and Anishinaabe land, currently known as Minneapolis.
And I'm Adrienne Marie Brown, writer of stories and songs, emergent strategist, pleasure activist, and sci-fi writer, living in the land of the Shakori, Skurura, Tuscarora, and Lumbee peoples.
And this is How to Survive the End of the World,
our podcast about learning from apocalypse with grace, rigor, and curiosity. And this is a bonus episode that we had to slip in between seasons because a very exciting project that means a lot to both of us has entered the world this week. So the project is called Healing Justice Lineages, and we are blessed to have the co-authors, both of them, here today for basically a session of gushing and celebration. So we wanted to welcome Kara Page and Erica Woodland to our podcast. I'm going to get intros for y'all, and then we're going to get into the conversation. So Kara Page, best voice on planet Earth, an incredible Audre Lorde scholar who was the executive director of the Audre Lorde Project for years, an artist and poet and theatrical thought maker, a healing justice co-dreamer, and a co-creator of so many crucial justice projects, including Kindred Southern Healing Justice Collective, and most recently, the Anti-Eugenics Project. And then Erica Woodland, who is the steady Capricorn with the most disarming smile, a gifted therapist, a gifted practitioner, fun to party with, and a founder of the National Queer and Trans Therapist of Color Network.
Hello, beloved listeners. This is Adrienne coming to tell you I was wrong. Yes, I was wrong. I said Erica is a Capricorn. He is an Aries with Capricorn rising. So, understandable, as if you understand much about the rising signs. However, that Aries is important. So, just a corrective little note here. Let's keep going. Love y'all.
Welcome, y'all. We're so happy to have you here.
Yes, thank you for inviting us.
Honored to be here with all of you.
We're really happy to have y'all here. So first and foremost, how are y'all doing?
First and foremost,
we just like to check in with everyone. Like, there's a lot in motion in the world right now. And I know I particularly am in a tender place because we just found out that our comrade Jen Angel passed away yesterday after a robbery in Oakland. And so it's been a tender night. It's been a tender few days. The robbery happened a few days ago. But Jen's spirit is walking with us. She was an abolitionist. She was a freedom fighter. Her family and friends have already said what we want to make sure is uplifted about her is everything that she gave to community, everything that she did. She was an incredible freedom fighter, an incredible social justice and direct action human. But then she also was a passionate baker, and she opened Angel's Cupcakes and was a baker who was giving everybody the cupcakes and everybody's wedding cake and everything for years. It was just like a place of deep joy for her. And she's, her commitment is so deep that her family has already said, like, they want justice to be restorative in this process and transformative in this process, whatever happens. I mean, it's just been incredible to see how the community has come together and how her values are showing up in every aspect of this, but there's also a lot of loss. It's a huge loss. So I know for me that there's a tenderizing of that. And then I'm here right now in the midst of something called a Pancha Karma, which is an Ayurvedic cleanse. So I've been moving a lot of trauma and memory and just past out of my body in a really intentional way. So it feels like exactly this is, Autumn was like, should we cancel given this news about Jen? And I was like, actually, I want to be in the kind of conversation that is one that Jen would listen to and uplift and love and be in. So that's how I'm entering the conversation today. How about you, Kara? How are you coming in today?
Well, I just want to offer power and strength to you and the community in this transformation, this transition of life.
Mm.
And I'm doing remarkably well despite all odds. I'm here in this
I'm so
world.
glad.
I mean, this book is a gift for us, by us, with us, and I'm tremendously honored. We had a beautiful launch event on Wednesday for the Healing Justice Lineages book. Beginning, what am I saying? The tour. That's right.
Yeah, the
The
tour, baby. The
the
bookstore,
tour
baby.
is beginning. Is it feels like it's springing up and emerging,
Mm.
and I'm just very excited to be in conversation with y'all today in this vibration at this particular moment.
I love that.
Yes.
How about you, Erica?
Today I'm arriving like very grounded and clear
Mm-hmm.
and so full. I feel like this week has been just like a huge love offering, both like with the book being in the world and all the love and all the relationships that went into the project, but also all the love and affirmation that we're receiving because folks are really just ready for this conversation. And I just feel like we're going to find more of our comrades through this process.
Yes.
And I also feel deeply humbled. I just feel like I'm continuing to learn so much about myself. I keep saying if you write a book about healing justice, you're going to have to heal. I didn't exactly sign up for that part, but but I'm trying to be a good student. So it's been a week of just a lot of beauty and a lot of really hard work kind of coming to fruition. So I feel good and I'm excited to rest and celebrate this weekend.
Love that. Thank you.
Mm.
What about you, sister?
I'm so excited that I'm in barely containing, barely of containment.
Are you
So
continuing?
I'm not. I'm not really. I'm having one of those moments that sometimes happens when we record the show where I'm feeling just, I can't believe I get to do this. I can't believe that we get to be in this conversation. And Erica and Kara, you are both just have had such a profound impact on me and my work. So getting to be in this conversation with you this week just feels so, I'm so grateful. I am a little in the scatteredness of parenting, just in as much as I have a kid unexpectedly home today who's dealing with a migraine. But she is settled in her little couch nest thing that she has created for herself with her manga and her water and her PB&J. So I think
like, I love that I know which child it is.
you know exactly which child it is.
Oh, great.
So, I'm not concerned about her, but it has been the day has been a lot of kind of flowing in and out of being in conversation with people, doing a little bit of work, and then snuggling with her, and then coming back into my office. Just I'm in deep, deep gratitude, y'all.
Yeah. Well, this is actually a good way to enter into the conversation because this book, Healing Justice Lineages, it opens with basically gratitude after gratitude after gratitude. I really loved that. I just felt like I kept hearing, and now there's this kind of gratitude, and now there's this kind of gratitude. And just I wanted to offer y'all gratitude and thank you from the very first page of the book, saying that it was dedicated to Harriet Tubman and Charity Hicks and your ancestors. I was immediately crying. I was just like, yes, thank you for uplifting Charity in this way. And then continuing with that gratitude. And we wanted to start off getting to hear about the journey of this book from the conception of the book. We know this was a collectively authored process, which is always special. And what shows up in the pages of this book spans geographies, traditions, communities, and both linear and nonlinear histories. So we wanted to hear as much as you want to share about that process and also how the process was like the curation process was actually reflective of healing justice itself.
Yes, yes, and yes. I'm gonna jump right in here, Erica. Can we
Yay.
riff? We can riff off this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
riff
let's
a
do it.
riff.
I feel like more a jazz piece than
Yes.
telling it all in solid paragraphs. But
Mhm.
um, I just want to say the journey began with ancestors, right? And
Mhm.
we are very clear that we had to honor Harriet Tubman on the journey as a
Yes.
healer, as a freedom fighter, as an organizer, an abolitionist. And so we had to touch the land where she was birthed.
Mm.
And by way of Erica's ancestors, which I'll let him speak to, it just opened up that we went there. And I consider Maryland the South. So, we
It
started our
is.
Southern, come on with it.
You're not
It
alone
is.
in that
I, I
consideration.
would hope so, but okay. I think people need to pivot. But so we landed there, and it felt very much like a continuation of the ancestral work we had done in the early 2000s in the South.
Mm.
Pouring water to my ancestors, born and raised in Georgia, who then became migrant sharecroppers who came up to the Northeast where I am now living.
Mhm.
Um, but in the South, when we started the book, we had to remember, how does the South draw forward and carry the water of ancestors and traditions and practice.
Mm.
So when I think about how the book began, it became very much a psalm, a continued memory, a prayer that was very much in dialogue and conversation with both of our ancestors,
Mm.
and then being conduits of all the communities that we touch. We had to invite others that we knew were grounded in healing justice, no matter how they named it or identified it,
Mm.
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we had to go to the South first. All right, who in the
Hmm.
South can we gather your voices? We couldn't get everyone. So
Yeah.
we had to see, okay, well, who are we in relationship to? That's
Mm.
very important for
Mm-hmm.
us. How do those people we interview, how are they rooted in place of movement, place of political abolition, place of region, geography, land, and
Mm.
spirit, and spirit.
Yeah.
And so, and we really had to hold that balance. And I'll tip it back to you, Erica, but that balance of how do you hold story from so many people across regions about a collective lineage of care and healing as part of liberation,
Mm.
without feeling like you're not asking the right people or the right questions.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we had to trust our ancestors. We had to
Right.
trust the people we were in relationship to, that they could hold the humility and grace to say, we are not the only ones, but we are the ones for right now,
Yes.
Mm.
right?
Wow.
To
I
be
love
in
that.
this book and be a part of this weaving. And I am deeply honored that we were so graceful, I feel, and how
Yeah.
we answered that calling and how we did that weaving.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Erica, yeah.
Mm.
Beautiful, Kara. Beautiful. You know, our relationship has been such an important container for the book as well. And so I'm thinking
Mm.
a lot about, um, the work that we have done together since 2015, 2016 around healing justice, and Kara really bringing healing justice as a framework to the National Queer and Trans Therapists of Color Network. And then in 2020, we started doing a lot more work together around collective care and safety, kind of in the context of the intersecting crises, COVID, uprisings, and more. And I think we, through our work, 2020 and beyond, really started to sharpen our own thinking around healing justice. And, the conditions that we're living in now are very similar, although not the same, to the conditions um, in which healing justice emerged. And so, one
Mm.
of the things I think is really beautiful about this project is that the two of us answered a call, right? We did not necessarily seek to birth this project, but we saw that there was a need. we saw that there was an opportunity, and we know that we're only here because of all of the many centuries of work and the thousands of people who continue to move this work forward. And so there's a level of integrity and intention that has always been at the core of this, and it's made it actually really easy to trust. Um, it's been really beautiful. Anytime I feel like we feel like we're not aligned, we just come back to like, okay, first of all, what would Harriet do?
Yes.
That part.
Yes.
Yes.
But also like really just trusting like we're the ones to bring this forward with all of these communities that we're a part of. And because the book is kind of the beginning of a larger intervention that we're hoping to seed, it's really beautiful to also know that we're going to gather more stories together.
Ooh, ooh.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful.
Can I come in with a follow-up?
Absolutely.
Before we had another question we were going to ask, but I want just on this tip of seeding a larger intervention and locating ourselves in time and geography. I wonder if you would be willing to unpack a little bit more, Erica, what you just said about how the conditions now are very similar to the conditions in which healing justice as a framework emerged. Because I think that kind of that reflexive ability to name like when historical patterns are repeating themselves and why we actually have to return to more ancient strategies and ways would probably be really helpful and instructive for our audience.
Yes. I think it's so important because in the book we're really clear that time is not linear. And so if you're a student of the cycles of history, it's just a lot available to us in terms of resource, in terms of lessons learned, and the level of violence of this time, the surveillance, the control, the backlash, the organizing, the resistance, the innovation. I think we're in a moment where we actually have access to a lot of potentialities, right? And that can be horrific or it can be the best thing that we ever could imagine. And one of the things that I've really appreciated about listening to Kara and Kindred talk about the political moment when HJ emerged is like, almost 20 years later, there's things that we know that we've needed for the past 2 decades that we've yet to build, right? And so how do we use this opportunity to say like, no, actually, we have to do something different. And we actually have to get aligned around a political framework and being really clear about healing justice as a political framework and the movements and political frameworks that it's rooted upon to really clap back around co-optation and just the wholesale misuse of the framework, to kind of move us towards a more individualized self-care strategy that is lovely, but not rooted in our liberation.
Yes, can I jump in? I mean, here's the tea. I have to say, here's the tea, is that when Kindred said that Healing Justice Collective, a collective of healers, health practitioners, social workers, birth workers, cultural workers, all organizers in the South, when we formed and started to wrestle with the political framework of healing justice, we were answering a call to movement in the early 2000s around everything Erica just threw down, right? And the question became, wait a minute, how did other Southern movements, Black and Brown, immigrant, refugee, queer, trans, gender nonconforming, how did our people survive all the other attempted genocides, all the other loss of campaigns and failure, all the other executions of our freedom fighters? How did we hold collective grief and trauma in those moments? That is very generational in our cellular bones and bodies, right? And so to ask that question, then what emerged was, wait a minute, we're waiting for carceral strategies to tell us how to be well, physically, psychically, emotionally, spiritually, all right. When we already know we have people in our lineages and legacies that were curanderas, birth workers, root workers, doing this work for our collective survival. Hold up, we got medicine. And people have co-opted it, stolen it, licensed it, surveilled it, bought it, sold us back to us, right? Fast forward, when people started co-opting and commodifying healing justice, Kindred Southern Healing Justice Collective didn't have time to respond to that. We were
Yeah.
just annoyed. We're like, oh, here we go again. You're going to
Right.
take it out of the South. You're not going to make it feminist. You're not going to make it abolitionist. You're sure as shit not going to make it black. So it's over. It's a wrap. So, and we didn't, that wasn't our call to action. That wasn't,
Yeah.
I always used to say, that's not my problem. But
Oh,
fast forward,
Again.
I met visionaries like Erica who really pushed our, one, he came with such joy around the framework and was using it to organize insider outsider strategies with therapists. And I was like, oh my goodness, is this useful to you? You're really grounded in the principle, the values of what we meant. This is fantastic. And then when we met and started to move through the strategy, I thought, oh, not only are you meeting us where we were with it, you're taking it the next level. You're imagining what the next iteration is. And now we could do that together. Oh, snap. You know, because Kindred is we're still here, but we're in a deep reflective process. We're like, what happened? Where have we been? Where are we going? And we weren't funded. So we went on hiatus. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
We couldn't get resources for days, and we couldn't respond to the need of the crises that were arriving. But to work with Erica and then to see the ecosystem, we were suddenly able to say, wait, it is my problem. It is my concern. If something we have grown and built and carried forward has been stolen, we've got to get it and take it back. And that's what this book does. It is memory. It's re-memory. It's reclamation.
Wow.
Hallelujah.
Well, and this actually does, I think, in a way, it does kind of dovetail with the question that we wanted to ask you about privatization.
Yes. Come on.
And this is something that in my work I've been thinking about a lot, about the narrative privatization that happens around violence, pain, terror, trauma, and just how one of the ways that like individualism, the practice of individualism, the myth of individualism that is upholding structures of dominance and systems of supremacy gets reinscribed through our sense or our belief or our thinking that our violence is private to us. And that our healing is also private to us, right? That's right. I was noticing in Aurora's Forward, which is so beautiful, that she talks about that this as one of the essential frames, right, of within healing justice, the notion that our violence isn't private, that we hurt each other because of oppression, and that collective trauma is going to be healed through collective process. But I find this to be such a challenging idea for people to accept. I was actually just facilitating a process a couple of weeks ago with my own colleagues around violence and terror, and noticed just even within my own collegial space, the struggle that folks have with the notion of deprivatizing our violence, experiences with violence. So anyway, it provoked for me this question around what you've witnessed in your own organizing work as you're trying to help people do the re-memory work. And drawing people into like a broader calling around what we are doing. I'm wondering what you've noticed about the way that we maybe grasp onto our individual stories. And also what happens, like what have you seen happen when people are able to kind of break free of an individual orientation to pain and wounding?
Oh, beautiful.
Wow. That
I know that was like
three
questions in one. I'm so sorry.
I was like, that's like a whole dissertation right there that needs to happen.
Yes.
The first thing it made me think about actually is how the mainstream mental health system contributes to that. So I'm like, right, I'm a therapist. You come and you talk to an individual person as an individual, but maybe in a couple or family about your problems.
Mm-hmm.
And in the kind of classic model, we're not tending to the context and conditions. And in your role, you actually can't be in a more collective space around it, right? Because
Right.
of confidentiality and all these pieces. I think that not only is the violence not private, but it's by design, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our suffering is been completely manufactured to uphold racial capitalism,
Mm.
and so I think it's a tall ask for people to let go of their kind of individual experience of wounding in this context of like real scarcity at times, but also our the scarcity of imagination. And we don't have enough spaces where people can both hold and be seen in their individual suffering inside of the collective. There's just like if it's not about me, then I'm being erased somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even in my own healing experience, it's like I have had periods where I've been very attached to and identified with my trauma, with my wounding, with my suffering,
Right.
and there were benefits. There were benefits that came along with that are hard to admit and name.
Oh,
Right? There's
yes.
like a specialness.
Yes.
I've experienced this and you haven't, and so therefore I don't know what prize you win. But
Yeah, the prize of
but I also think
attention.
it's
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
the prize of
Yes.
attention,
Yes.
right?
Beautifully said.
And kind of this like how we one up each other
Yeah.
versus seeing the ways that this is happening to all of us, right? And
Mm.
and another person's individual suffering and trauma and experience of violence is also affecting me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot is possible when we
Mm.
build out the spaces to transform trauma collectively, but a lot of folks don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And the commitment that takes, the training that takes, the humility, the accountability, the relationship to elders. I mean, it's really important work. And part of what I hope we can see through this project is more conversations about what it actually requires. Because this is not for play. Like, this is serious. This is serious
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's our birthright. And,
Yeah.
we need to have a plan and we need to know what we're doing and be responsible. And I think there's so much available to us when we
Mm.
see ourselves as part of a collective and part of a lineage and part of a legacy.
Mm.
Yes. Mm. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. I'm like, yes. I just want to add, because we
Yeah.
haven't really said it, I just want to say healing justice is a political strategy that
Yes.
seeks to intervene, right, on generational trauma to build collective power towards resistance. Inside of that, the book reveals the different layers of what's possible by what we mean by that. And one
Mm.
tool that we began using in the South by way of Southerners on New Ground and organizing in the South was looking at what is our relationship to land, to economies, to spiritual, cultural work, and to our bodies. And so, riffing off of what Erica said, if we're exploring our collective relationship to land that's not based on an individual capitalist agenda,
Mm-hmm.
then we have to understand what is our interdependence that doesn't
Mm.
isolate us and separate us out, and what is our interdependence to each other's bodies, not to be your body, not to have your pain, but to understand how we are in relationship to each other's collective pain, and how will we um, uphold a level of respect, integrity, and discovery around
Mm.
what it means to take care of pain interdependently of each other. I think disability
Yeah.
justice movement does this tremendously well, right? And
Mm-hmm.
asking the question, how will we take care of each other, knowing we will have very different needs, and we're not
Yeah.
trying to build some monolithic idea of
Right.
all this can be healed and all this means I'm unwell, right? That's impossible. We are multidimensional And we're not looking for a cure, we're looking for ways to value the ways we live in our shared experience, right? So I just want to offer, like, how do we bust through the mythology of racial capitalism that fuels it, that fuels this notion you can be fixed, you can be cured, you can be isolated from land, body, spirit, culture. This is the myth that we have to reimagine, which you beautifully said. Scarcity of imagination. Come on, Erica. You wrote that down.
Well, it makes me, I have again, before I get to the question, I'm going to definitely ask you, it makes me want to have both of you just spill a little bit about your own lineages inside of this, right? Because it is this, I keep thinking of, we are in a time that feels like it's rich with the frameworks we have needed for a long time. It's like these frameworks are coming in, and it's not like, oh, we figured this all out. It's like, no, we just figured out a way to talk to each other about what we have been doing and how we have been surviving and like what we can understand about this world. So we're rich with frameworks, and the frameworks are coming through particular bodies and through particular lineages inside of a collective cauldron. And I think that's very exciting. And I'm like, oh, don't get too tied to being the cauldron. Just let the thing, let the good meal, let the good gumbo come through, whatever it is, right? So I'm curious a little bit about what one of the favorite parts for me was getting to learn more about your lineages. And I wonder if you could share a little bit more about that. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the other lineages of the book. But like, what is your river? What is your journey? What is your lineage path into this healing justice framework, this moment?
Yes. Should I jump in? What is my river? Come on.
What is your river, baby?
Baby.
Come on.
You're talking to a Pisces. If you start with water, I must.
Yes.
He's such a Pisces.
Okay. Well, the Taurus moon that keeps me grounded as much as possible.
Balance.
And the Sag rising. Okay, come on. A little rage. A little rage. And creation.
I really want to do a Venn diagram of the astrology of certain frameworks, and
I would love
like
that.
how many people in the healing justice work are like Sag, Pisces, Cancer. Anyway, there's just certain things that I'm like, I'm really curious about.
Interesting.
And Capricorn. There's just like certain things I'm like, interesting.
More tea.
I like this.
Moya and I will make that book. Okay. Anyway.
Yes, you will. To be continued. I love it, Moya. I want to say for myself, as a survivor of family violence, as someone who, as a Black child of mixed ancestry that witnessed violence in my home, but did my damnedest to protect the notion of family, because I knew at a very young age, which I'm sure Autumn and Adrienne Marie can appreciate, is when you have the dynamic of a white person and a Black person in your family as your parents, and having to protect. I can't. People are like, how would you know the analysis? I was like, I knew in my gut that calling the police on my father with a white mother was not an option, right? And knowing, and the dynamic of growing up in a very real, constant, waiting for the second shoe to drop, my discovery around trauma was very much based on protecting, defending, and witnessing. And so when I came into my own healing process later in life, in like my early 20s, and I watched how community would section off healing processes as, I'm not saying you don't need to go on your own individual journey around trauma, no doubt, but I found it fascinating that you would talk about grief, let's say, of losing a freedom fighter, and not talk about the ripple effect of witnessing, of feeling the loss of the freedom fighter, right? Because every time there was violence in my home, I wasn't being directly assaulted, but the witnessing, the grief, the
Yes.
terror of not knowing what's coming next
Yes.
changed my entire world.
Yes.
Like for me as a black girl, I was always ready to run, you know.
Yes.
And then when shit came down, even in my teens, when certain stories would emerge and I was like, oh, this person in this house and in this house, you're all going through some shit. But
Yes.
we're not organizing together collectively. It doesn't matter what your trauma is, you are still needing to be safe and
Mhm.
needing to have the mechanisms that care for you and build safety, right? Now, everyone
Period.
now would
Yeah.
say, well, of course, blah, blah, blah. You could do a pod mapping or blah, blah. And I'm like, no, in 79, your shit was on analog. Your
Yes.
phone was,
Right.
it was not on a computer.
Yeah.
You were out here on the end of a line waiting for someone to notice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the reality and relationship I grew up in
Yes.
relationship to violence, fear, care, safety. So I've got to say that lineage pulled into HIV, AIDS, the
Mm.
Black women's health movement in this country, the women of color health movement,
Mm.
and then other movements that emerged like reproductive justice and disability justice and harm reduction, right?
Yeah.
Seeing the relationship to safety and how
Yes.
people took care of each other
Yes.
saved my life. Shout out
Mm.
to Shira Hassan's
I was
book,
like,
Saving Our
Shira.
Lives, right? She speaks
Yes.
to it. She speaks to it. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes. And that's what I was looking for when I became that sort of co-dreamer, designer of healing justice. I was like, wait, there's something in between here,
Yeah.
between the grief and the trauma and the revolutions we're holding.
Yes.
If we're not intentional about care and how we're building it collectively, we're going to be hanging out on the end of a line waiting for someone to see or notice us. And I don't
Mm.
ever want to create that again for the next generation.
Oh, thank you.
Mm.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
It's I'm
Beautiful
just like a little
question.
like a little teary eyed. It's just that's so beautiful.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kara and
Yes.
Erica. We've in
Yes.
tributaries.
I love this question. I love it so much. For me, it all starts with my mama, who was an ancestor. She transitioned in 2006, and
Mm.
I come from a long line of mothers who don't live very long, right?
Uh-huh.
So her
Yes.
mom passed at 45, my great grandmother passed at 41, and there's this kind of theme around unresolved grief, and the particular violence that is bestowed upon Black women in this country. And so,
Mm.
what everything I learned about care and protection and the lengths that one will go to take care of your people, I learned that from her. And I watched her sacrifice so much for her children. And my childhood was wild in the sense of grew up in a small family, single parent household, and I went to a private all girls school on the site of a former plantation. And so my day to day experience was being at home. Sometimes the lights were not on, sometimes it was government cheese sandwiches, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Delicious, maybe not nutritious. And then going to a place where there were very few Black people, except for the custodial staff, right? And seeing just so much wealth, so much privilege, and we're just not going to name that this land was a plantation. We're just not going to name that.
I'm like,
and moving between just like vast privilege and then just seeing my Black community where people were struggling. And so as a young person, I was just like, the math isn't mathing for me. And I would say like, this isn't fair all the time, and my mom would be like, yeah, the world is not fair. And that's true, but I was not willing to not do something about that. Like I was like, no, no, I can't accept that. That's unacceptable to me. And I think I got to see a lot of the generational consequences of what it means to lose parents really early and not have strategies and traditions and practices around grief. And so coming into my work, I was already doing work around abolition, work around the liberation of political prisoners when I lost my mom. And I'd sat with so many survivors who were talking to me about their grief, who were talking to me about what it meant to like be in jail and lose your mom, right? What it meant to be on the street and lose your mom, what it meant to have like 15 years clean and lose your mom and then relapse, and just to actually see people transform trauma and violence and grief in the most horrific circumstances, and to really consider what is possible when our people have connection to each other, and when we can have deep connection to our traditions and practices.
Yes.
And it's why, my mom never talked about her parents, right? She was pregnant with me and she lost her father. So she was 26. She had lost
wow.
both of her parents. By the time I was 26, I had lost both of my
Oh,
parents. So there's these like real clear
yes.
patterns that I'm like, this is not a coincidence,
That's
right? This is not a coincidence.
right.
And what we know is like, we're not going to get free if we don't also have our healing traditions at the center of our political work. And we're not going to be healed if we're not transforming the conditions. So
That's right.
those two things have always been very deeply woven inside of how I make meaning of the world and my work. But a lot of what I come to understand about what I call exquisite care is from her, and really watching the amount that she was willing to sacrifice, because she wouldn't have called them political convictions, but she was just a person that was like, this is the right thing to do when we do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
And when
Period.
other people are doing whatever they're doing, we still do the right thing.
That's right.
So there's a piece, I think, in the book, there's a line about like choosing integrity over belonging, which I don't want that to be the choice.
Yeah.
But with some of the things going on out here in these movement streets, listen, we might have to choose integrity over going with the crowd.
That's right.
I mean, I actually think it's how these frameworks get to come to light because, you know, we are all emerging from a period of movement history that was so structured by philanthropy that
Yes.
literally everyone who has sort of burst through that and said, we don't fit into these silos and we
Yes.
don't want to compete with each other for one part of our community. But we want to start to see these holistic frameworks that are like, this is a lens through which we can see the whole picture. So I think that
Yes.
choosing integrity over belonging is what the common thread amongst people who are like, hold up, it's this whole other way of seeing it actually.
Yes.
And I love the way y'all have structured the storytelling of this, like structured these lineages, because it is, you are setting a boundary with this text. And it feels like you're setting a boundary in a way that's like, we'll take you back so you understand why we need the boundary. We'll take you to the root system of the boundary, and then we'll let you understand what we've been practicing and what you can practice and how you can honor this. It's really a gorgeous structure. So we wanted to ask you if you would each choose a particular lineage that you'd like to uplift from the book to give our audience a taste of the riches that are on this table.
Yes. There's so many lineages we want to lift up, or we do, in the book.
Yeah.
I think what I would tap into is the relationship to all the movements, care, liberatory strategies, healing traditions that happened on the journey, right? So really giving the lineage of birth workers who literally are freedom fighters on the front lines during slavery, excuse me, birthing the next generation, right? Of black people, literally saving our next generations, or choosing to abort, right? Using abortion as a tool for revolution. Again, freedom fighters at the front lines saying, I will not birth you into slavery, right? So just drawing on that tradition as a healing tradition, looking at the Black Power movement, the Chicano Power movement, the Yellow Power movement, AIM, American Indian movement, how these different movements use care strategies, use collective care traditions, be they clinics like La Raza Clinic by the Brown Berets out in San Francisco, be they the breakfast clinics, they weren't clinics, right? The community breakfast that Black Power movement used.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the tradition of acupuncture as a practice to help decriminalize, right? People who were substance users, who were, living their lives fully, wanting to understand the political relationship to the use of care and a healing tradition inside of the Lincoln Detox Center,
Mm-hmm.
led by the Young Lords and
Mm-hmm.
and Black Panthers. So just we draw that lineage out, and
Yes.
we know this history is hidden,
Yes.
right? Medical students don't get it, therapists don't get it, psychiatrists don't get it, social workers don't get it,
Yeah.
organizers don't get it. Like, we don't get this to hear this lineage and say, oh, wait, what? Where is birth work inside of revolution?
Yes.
Where are detox clinics using
Mm-hmm.
healing and different apparatus and traditions of healing part of revolution? That's what this book honors and elevates and says, here we are. Here's the arc.
Yes.
Where are you inside of it?
Yeah.
Jump
Because you
in,
are inside of it.
because
Because you
we
are
are.
inside of
Yeah.
us.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Beautiful.
Knowing or not knowing.
Knowing or
Yeah.
not. The Allied Media Conference,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Insight,
Yes.
Yes.
doing the anti-violence, abolitionist,
Yes.
critical resistance,
Yes.
just sort of
Yes.
lining, oh, here we are
Yes.
doing liberatory practice with care inside of that. And
Yes.
that's the lineage. And we know that everyone, it will not be named, but
Yes.
we will continue the journey to add the names and
Mm-hmm.
pour libations and
Yes.
keep moving forward.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Thank
love
you.
that. I think for me, it's so hard because I love every nook and cranny of this book. Like, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
It's a
One of
good
my
problem.
favorite chapters is I got to interview my elder, former Black Panther, former political prisoner, Marshall Eddie Conway.
Oh.
And Eddie and Dominique Conway, they're very much responsible for my political consciousness and my spiritual orientation in this work. And
Mm.
so being able to actually take a conversation that Eddie and I have had for the past 15 years in different ways about the work of the Panthers, about this work now, about, healing justice as a framework. It was really, really beautiful to, I feel like, get some really clear downloads from an elder who's like, I've seen a lot of things, right?
Yes.
And he was incarcerated for 44 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And was released in 2014. And continued to organize, of course, right? And part of what he did when he got out is also continue to organize. So the work never stopped. But what Eddie taught me was he's a deep historian, right? So
Mm.
as a young person, who thought I knew everything and was like, the revolution is happening right now. Don't be trying to tell me it's not. Um, very patiently and lovingly, he got me together and was like, so look at these other periods in history where we have moments that were similar. What can we learn? What can we
Ooh.
learn? And also, the present and the past are not exactly the same. And so the title of that chapter is Don't Give Up and Don't Make the Same Mistakes, which I love because it's like, what are the things that we need? What are the relationships that we need to stay in this work and have longevity in this work, right? Which to me is so core to this piece around what it means to be an organizer and a healer in this particular portal that we're in.
Mm.
But to also not completely
Mm.
glorify the things of the past. Like,
Yes.
there were a lot of issues inside of the work that was happening inside the Black Panthers,
Mm.
and the other radical groups of the 60s and 70s, and there were a lot of things that they could not have anticipated, like COINTELPRO, right? And
Yeah.
so that's also one of the pieces that I think is really important is that these freedom fighters, especially the ones who are still with us, they are I think they're making it very clear where we need to get corrected. And I don't know, a lot of people don't have access to those elders, right?
Mm.
Mm.
For a number of reasons. And I think a lot of us are not, moving with the level of respect that we need to have to elders. And, sometimes elders need to get their stuff together as well.
Yeah, which I think
But
is
if we
part of the
don't have
respect also. It's like when you respect people,
exactly,
you be in real relationship, you know?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And our relationship has been, when I first met him, he was like, I want to be your mentor. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be your mentor because there's some things you need to learn about Black feminine. I mean, why was I talking to this man like that? I know it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But what I appreciate about him is he loved that. He
Yeah.
loved that. He loved my irreverence and he loved that
Mm,
I stay willing to challenge him politically. And
Yeah.
I think that our relationship and that conversation was so beautiful because, a lot of times he's like, you all you all have tools that you can use that we didn't have, right? And so we don't want to recreate the past, but we also need to take what has been useful and really reimagine what's possible.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. Literally, what would we
Sparkles.
do without our elders? There's something in what you just named too, Erica, that makes me think about how our the context of these digital platforms reinforces the alienation from our elders,
Mm-hmm.
both because of just generational patterns of who's using what platforms, but also because the way the platforms themselves function, they functionally keep us zoned out and alienated unto ourselves on our own little islands of content. And which I know that this is, I know you all talk about this in the book, right? That this is also part of the assessment of why the boundary is needed
Yes.
for the healing justice framework, because of this digital context in which we are working, and how it is both a resource that we have that previous generations of freedom fighters did not have, and how also it's like a weapon that our lives are shaped around.
Mm.
Mm. And it makes me, one of the questions that we had for you all is about, you know, the hopes you are having in this moment for how this work is going to be received and used by organizers and practitioners. And I think the way we drafted the question was, what are some of the wounds and challenges in our current movement moment that this is medicine for? And I would love to hear you both speak to that, but there's something really specific that you just named, Erica, about the way you framed it was, you've witnessed people transforming trauma and grief in the most horrific of circumstances. And I've been thinking about this, like the alchemy of,
Mm.
and the unique power that survivors have, and how that how that interfaces with the need to not pedestalize people, the need to not have our identities be structured around our pain, while also awakening to the alchemical magic and power that we have. um
Mm.
so I'm not able to form a specific question around it in this moment, but I hope you can hear where I'm trying to go with this, which is like, it feels like there is like a precipice we are approaching, even as we recognize the patterns, that a lot of the patterns we're living out in this current movement moment are patterns we've repeated many times over generations. There is a sort of precipice that we are at around our power. And I wonder how this book is meeting that.
Or how you
Does
want
that
it
make
to.
sense?
Yeah.
Or how you want it to meet that moment, that
Yeah.
precipice.
Because I want to just double down on this. I love in the book, you say who this book is for. And
Mm.
the range of who it's for was orgasmically delightful to me. Like I was just like, this is real. You're really saying like, in a way, we want you all to see what our power could be.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yes. Go ahead, Erica. You start
Yeah.
us off.
I think what we want practitioners and organizers and just the broader community to know is like we have what we need to do things differently. And if we are not telling the truth about the context and conditions of this moment and how it connects to the past, then we will repeat it in the future. So there's this, I think there's a larger theme around, our process, which is like, it's really important that you know where things come from. It's really important to offer. It's like, for me, it's like just regular standard Black parenting that I know not everybody got, but it's like you move with respect. You don't steal things, and you do your best to meet your unique contribution to this moment alongside everyone else.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I feel concerned about is folks are starting new things without being in relationship to things that already exist, right? I think there's been a proliferation of things that have sprung up since 2020, a lot of which are in deep relationship to the lineage that we map in the book. And then there's, I've had conversations with people who are like, yes, I literally had my awakening in the summer of 2020, and by the fall, I had a nonprofit. And
Talk about it.
I okay, I don't even know that we need another
It's like,
nonprofit.
where'd you get the money from?
I think we need so many less. Yes.
Where did you get the money from? Exactly. So I think that we're trying to invite people to align around a political and spiritual imperative and say, we need so many different iterations of healing justice, collective care, and safety, but you have to know where things come from. And you have to make a commitment to be aligned around the political frameworks and movements. So you cannot be moving things and calling it HJ if it's not abolitionist, if it's not anti-capitalist, if it's not rooted in disability justice, transformative justice, environmental justice, reproductive justice, and liberatory harm reduction. Like, that's the mandate that we received from all the listening that we did for this project. I think the last thing I want to just name here is, because it's a hard moment. I don't know about y'all, but like the pandemic is still out here pandemicking. And so I also am really struck by the level of ableism that's moving not only through our movements, but also through the work being held down by certain healing and spiritual practitioners. And I just want to note that like, that's not going to get us there. Right. And so I feel really excited to grapple with the ways ableism is moving through our work that are more subtle and more difficult to identify. And that's been one of the biggest learnings that I've had through this project. Is like, I'm like, oh, damn, like I knew I was really out here needing to get it together around ableism and healthism. But the more you sit with story, the more you sit with elders, the more you sit with examples, the more you see your own gaps, and being willing to work on those areas of development is really crucial to us getting free, but it's also really crucial to being aligned around healing justice.
Yes.
I just am like so grateful for the precision of how you just broke that down, Erica. Like I've been in conversation with all these people lately who are like, I'm struggling to make a living or make the living I should be able to make because of the ableism that is demanding that people be back in in-person events.
Yes.
In order to, like for me, people are like, we won't pay you what your full amount is unless you come risk your life and your health and your well-being and put yourself in great pain and great suffering and become completely inflamed. Then we will pay you the full amount. And I'm like, fuck you. No. I'm staying home.
Absolutely
I will find a different path. But there's so many of us now. And I'm just like, there again, whenever those moments happen, it's like, oh, we have to pull ourselves together into a conversation and make a whole framework because we can't just count on the humanity of this moment because the humanity of this moment is steeped in ableism.
Right.
Anyway, I'm just so grateful for you, the precision. Kara.
Yes, I do want to offer that to the point that we have been in this portal of a pandemic, that when at the height of the pandemic, people were disrupting ways that we
Mm-hmm.
are used to doing things and we're
Yes.
willing to adapt in
Yeah.
so many ways.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And these same institutions, corporate, social justice,
Yeah.
went right back to where we were. And I was like, what? Where we were was never good enough for most of us.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
why are we plugging back
Why?
into that normalcy? I mean, the other element of healing justice is that we are also about disrupting the medical industrial complex and these ideas and concepts that create, as you said, healthism, Erica, this idea of healthy, who's healthy, this idea of whose bodies should be preserved and whose bodies are expendable, seen as criminal or dangerous. Surprise is us, right?
Right.
Black and brown,
Mm-hmm.
queer and trans, disabled, incarcerated, immigrant and refugee, so on and so forth people.
Mm-hmm.
So just to rename
Mm.
discipline and rigor for practitioners is key. And sometimes I get excited when I talk about the traditions of healing and care. Let me be clear, everything we did should not be pulled forward. Everything we do should not
That
be
part.
repeated.
Right.
If the
Mm.
work
Mm.
is not in relationship to our communities, our land, and our spirit, and in very much what I'm asking for is asking permission from our elders, our teachers, and mentors. We can't just pull forward without understanding, can I do ritual literally on this land without asking permission for the kinship that has lived and shepherded and tended to that land for centuries? Like, it's really unpacking this relationship to who am I willing to be? Who do I need to ask? And who are my teachers? And they will change over a lifetime. I have multiple teachers who
Right.
have taught me about healing and care. Some of them I disassociated from, or
Right.
excuse me, disconnected from because they were no longer for
Mm-hmm.
me, right? So,
Yeah.
but still having to ask permission, still having to ask the question, where have I made mistakes? Where is my
Mm.
learning? And that I must stay in my own discipline and rigor,
Mm. Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
watching practitioners be uprooted from the communities or the places they are rooted in, saying that I'm here holding healing. And I'm like, are you? Like, let's,
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah.
begs the question, how do we continue to evolve?
Yes.
Um, and
Mm.
because in many ways, even with how people are holding COVID, it's an example of how we're just going back.
Yeah.
It's rote. It's not. It doesn't ask the question, how will we continue to transform? This isn't static.
Mm-hmm.
There's not like
Right.
a way to get there that when we land, that's the destination. I
Mm.
like to say, people say, well, we can do collective care in nonprofits. I said, absolutely not, because that presumes that nonprofits or our people's organizations are the destination. Getting
Right.
free is not going to be in a fucking nonprofit.
No.
And don't ever rely on a state funded organization to give you all your care needs. That's
Mm-mm.
not what we were talking about.
Mm.
We were
Mm. Mm.
saying disrupt the notion that we can't talk about care and safety in relationship to organizing, but we still need to disrupt the systems that are very much about
Mm-hmm.
monitoring and surveilling what your body is, what your disease is, what your ability is.
Yeah.
We're not trying to repeat this.
Yes. We're trying to
Right.
get out of here.
We're trying to disrupt it.
That
We're
part.
trying to disrupt it. So,
Wow. Ooh. Yeah. Thank you so much. I feel so full
I
from
do too.
what y'all are offering, and I feel hopeful. I think this book is an incredible text. And something I feel like I've learned about books is like people read them at their own pace. People read them sometimes completely. People pick them up. And what I want to encourage people to do is buy this book, have it in your house, have it on your coffee table, have it in your bathroom, have it somewhere where people can pick it up, because it's really beautiful the way their voices are woven together. It feels like you can just pick up and be like, oh, let me just drop in here and see what I can
Yes.
get from Alexis and from Aurora. And, like, let me just drop in,
Yes.
and there's something in here. There really is something in here for you. And it's also, even if you might not read it till later, it's important for books like this that you buy it as soon as you can after it comes
Yes.
out, because that's
Yes.
how we show people that
Come
we
on.
need books like this, and we need this particular book. And so I just wanted to like really tell people, like, if you listen to this show and you respect Autumn and I, and you care about
Yes.
what we're talking about, buy this book. We're really putting ourselves behind it. We really believe in both of you, and we're so proud
Thank
of the
you.
labor, and we're really grateful that y'all came here to talk with us about it. Let's flume. Let's get into our awe space.
Yes.
Flume of let's flume away.
Yes. Yes. I'm like,
Um,
I never want to leave this
Beautiful.
off space.
Yeah, like we really like to, for a while we were doing this section that was just about our rage. It was like really letting the rage out.
I
And
heard
we were
that.
like,
Yes.
that was
Yes.
necessary. And,
It was.
that's still a good practice. I do it
Yes.
often. But we really were like, what are we
now
paying
we
attention
just
to?
do that in WhatsApp to each other.
Yes, we're like, girl, I have rage. But we also thought, in terms of what we're bringing into the collective space, that we wanted to bring our attention to awe, like even in these
Beautiful.
pale times, even in these times that feel really disjointed, there's still
Yes.
moments of deep awe.
That's
So
right.
does anyone have one that's like, my awe is right here and I'm ready to go?
I do.
Okay.
I absolutely do.
Erica.
So I feel like I spent a lot of time in the pandemic listening to podcasts. And I had not been listening to music. So recently I've actually asked people to like curate playlists for me. I'm like, I need like a bad bitch playlist, like but DJ Emancipation created this beautiful sound healing journey as part of our launch called the Healing Justice Lineages playlist on Spotify. We will send you the link.
Yes.
Running.
We will put it in the show notes.
Yes.
Please.
And she played during the event, at the beginning, during the break, and at the end, and it was next level. So just like being in all of the texture, all of the intergenerational wisdom, I mean, I'm living my best life. And it's like 3 hours of music.
Yeah, it's 3 hours.
3 hours of music.
Beautiful.
So it's giving me awe. It will give me awe probably for the rest of my days because, wow.
Yes, I was gonna kind of double down on the same thing. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I mean, I used to be a sound healer, so vibration is my center.
Of course.
But this, this it's a magical piece. It's a tribute to the sound and vibration of healing justice when you embody it and metabolize it. I'm telling you. So I'm right there with you, Erica. I'm going to double down.
All right.
How about y'all? Wow. What you got?
Well,
I can share my flume of awe is love feelings. I'm in an experience right now where I'm getting to experience a lot of love feelings. That's all I'll say. And
I love it.
And it's like, I just am having the part of it where you just feel awake to like more. It's like, oh, look at the light coming through the window. Oh, look at that branch dripping with water. Oh, this coffee tastes so good. Like everything feels more.
Oh, yes.
And I just love that we are built to love, and that like there's a thing that this is a thing we get to experience. It's so fucking cool.
You better work.
I'm like ablaze, and I'm very happy to be ablaze.
All lit up.
Sagittarian love feelings bomb. This makes your love feelings. Adam and I tend to do everything in parallel, and I'm also experiencing love feelings. So that also gives me awe that I'm always like, what? Like literally, if I call her and I'm like, girl, guess what just happened? She's like, literally me too. Anyway, I'm like, give me my own life.
We're on a spiritual journey.
We're on a spiritual journey. We really, the universe put us together on purpose. But I will say that awe is overflowing in me right now. Like it's the primary thing that I'm feeling, and a lot of it is for my own body. So one things that I often, when I feel love feelings, I'm swept away, and my attention is all swept away. Right now, it's like love feelings are like this reverberation of like how much I'm loving myself for real this time.
Gorgeous.
And, I've fallen in love with myself at many times. And now I'm like really choosing to love myself at a different level, and just astounded by my capacity to heal, astounded by how my body doesn't give up on me.
Yes.
And astounded that my body's like, oh, I can still go. Like, we can still do this, babe. Like,
Yes.
I can give you my best. And just, it's, I keep waking up every day, and especially because we have several colleagues who didn't make it to this age. And so I keep feeling into
That's
this,
right.
and I'm like, I made it to this age, and I get to love my body. And some of them left us specific wisdom about loving ourselves right now on time. And I'm just like taking that in. So a lot of awe there. And then I just couldn't let this end without saying, I feel a lot of awe to pick up this book and have it be full of references to you, Autumn. Like, I'm so proud to be a sister to you who are a part of this lineage. And that I got to like witness it, witness as you were going through and learning the things that lead to you being a part of this lineage. But it's also just really cool to be like, look at y'all, like, look at this light shining on you. So,
Well, I have to say, one of my most formative moments as a healing justice organizer was my very first call I ever had with Kara Page.
Exactly.
The debrief.
Who taught me, like, so I was in my early 20s. I was totally the like, I'm a radical anarchist organizer doing alternative economies of care, and no one's ever done anything like this before. And Kara got me together. Kara was my person who was like, and we have had so few opportunities over the years to reconnect with each other in person. But I want you to know how formative that moment was for me as an organizer, to have someone be like, here's what a lineage is. Just so you know, there's more here. And I was like, got it. Okay. I remember just sitting my ass down.
I love it.
Yeah, it was very important. It was very important. And that element of what you were naming, Erica, of like having folks, what for whatever sustained amount of time, like having folks who are like, I'm not giving up on you.
Yes.
I'm awakened and excited by your excitement.
That's right.
And also, here's some things you should know.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for naming that, Adrienne, and thank you, Kara and Erica, for including me and Rocked Up Collective in the work. Rocked Up forever.
Rocked Up Forever and Allied Media Conference.
And
yes, and the U.S. Social Forum. Come on, Adrienne, you were up in the mix.
You were up in the Adrienne, you have stories from being on the floor.
I do have stories. And I mean, I think people, this is why it's so exciting to me that this book exists, because I for years have told people, I'm like, I have done organizing only because there have been people who are willing to care for me along the way. I have been able to survive it. And particularly the U.S. Social Forum, I'm like, besides what was happening on the brilliant organizing level, which blew my mind, and getting to work side by side with Charity and getting to work with all these like movement heroes, there was also a moment where I'm like, I'm falling apart and I can't do this. A human cannot do this, and I cannot do this.
For context for our listeners, I just want to name that Adrienne was the national coordinator of the U.S. Social Forum in Detroit in 2010. Just so people understand, for our listeners who don't know that. Why was she falling apart? Because she coordinated the entire fucking conference.
Because we had 20,000 people coming, and we had 60 amazing organizations who were really heading in 60 different directions around how to help those 20,000 people have the most transformative political experience of their lives. And Kara and many others, there was a whole crew of people who came together and were like, we have to care for the bodies of the people who come to do this. As this happens, like fundamentally, and like, you can call this, you can call this, but like, we got to do. And I was like, sure, theoretically, great, awesome. Let's do, great. I'll make sure you have enough, what you need. But then on like the third day of the conference, I was like, my body is not, I don't know how to get to tomorrow. I went down into what that was, this room, the healing justice, room. And I'll never
Mhm.
forget what I felt
Yes.
like in that moment, to be like, now you get to just be a body. And
Yeah.
Yes. That's
we're
right.
just going to attend to that. We don't care what else you have to do. We don't care
Mm.
basically like who you are in the quote unquote sense, like, oh, you're
Yes.
the this.
Yeah.
It was just like, you're a body and you need our care right now.
That's right.
And I think we forget that anyone who's leading anything in our movement also needs to be held as a body always.
Mhm.
That's like, you're a body
Mhm.
and you're doing something that's hard and you don't know what you're
Yes.
doing. Like,
That's right.
I've never
That's
known what
right.
I was doing at any point when I was doing anything. That's not how I
Yes.
tend to work. I'm not like, I got it. I'm like,
Right.
we need something different. Let's try this. So I
Mhm.
just want to, I always say this. I'm like, my
Powerful.
life has been saved many times inside of the work.
Right.
And that, I feel like a recipient of the lineage as much as anything else, right? That I'm like,
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah. So, and
That's right.
now, like there is this place where I'm like, the urgency of this time makes it like, oh, we need the hardcore political strategies like this. And it's like, right now, what we need is this deep lineage based work. And we need a
Deep
deeper
and
breath.
wide.
We
Deep
need a
and
deeper,
wide.
slower, wider
Mhm.
stance. We
Yes.
need to
Mhm.
know that we've been here and we're not going anywhere. Like
Beautiful.
we've
Yes.
survived everything that's been thrown at us and gotten
They
stronger with
literally
each
Mhm.
can't
thing,
Still
erase
here.
us.
right?
They
Still
So
here.
can't
still here and
erase
stronger
us.
than ever, right?
That's
So
right.
there's that. To me, the whole time I'm reading, I'm like, I think Harriet would love this.
I think she
Like I
would.
think she would love
Yeah.
to know that
I
all this
think
was
she would.
happening. And
Yes.
that gives me chills and that makes me feel like we're in the right place at
Mm.
the right time, So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Powerful. Powerful.
Erica, Kara, thank you for shining your beautiful light onto this world and
Yeah.
offering this
Yes.
wisdom into this time, and also just being so real about what you are holding
Yes.
as you're doing this work. Because I don't know, my assessment is that we need a lot more of that strong reality medicine.
That's right.
Yes,
Yes.
the medicine of
Yes.
reality
Yeah.
feels
Yes.
very,
True.
very good. So
True.
thank you. And thank you for, at the end of this momentous launch week being with us. We
Yes.
are
Oh, it's a gift.
so,
Thank
so
you.
it is an
Thank
honor.
you.
It is an honor to be able to uplift this work. So
Thank you
thank you.
Yeah.
so much,
Deep,
y'all,
deep, deep bows to
for this
both of you.
space. Yes, you're brilliant. You're brilliant.
Y'all are just awesome.
And like,
I can't believe
Kara
this.
just told us we were brilliant. Oh my God.
I
Okay.
know. I was like,
Like, now I just have to do the rest of my day.
I was like, you can't
All
stop
right.
me now.
All right, here we go. Thanks for listening to our show. We're on Twitter and Instagram at End of the World PC. We're also on Facebook at End of the World Show, so long as they both shall live.
I was like, are we on Twitter anymore? Okay. You can make a sustaining donation to our show by visiting our page at patreon.com/endoftheworldshow.
Another incredible thing you can do to help our show sustain itself is to write us a review on Apple Podcasts if you are an iPhone person. Thank you.
How to Survive the World is produced and edited by the incomparable Zach Rosen.
Music for today's show comes from Tunde Alaniran and Mother Cyborg.